what it was. It wasn't an airplane. It was not an airplane. It was down off the road.
You're listening to Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast with your hosts, Ash Ellis and Greg Tomlinson.
Hey Ash, how you doing?
Very well. Second time around. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It's very warm in the UK. Not as warm as from where our guest is from tonight, but we'll come on to that in a bit. It's roasting here, although it's been cooler today. I was melting yesterday. It was like
the last few
one of
days
the hottest June days ever in the UK. But
like the hottest ever day for Wimbledon or something.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think my car was because it shows the outside temperature on my car as well as the inside temperature. It's like 33 degrees or something like that. Which
so you're a bit further south than me. So you're probably a bit warmer.
It's warmer down south because we're closer to the equator.
Tiny bit closer.
Tiny bit, yeah. But so we're recording this shortly after we've just done a live stream on TikTok for World UFO Day.
Yeah.
Which was very good. We had loads of people in chatting about UFOs and people coming on with their own experiences with Abby. So just a little reminder that we are doing Charity Month this month for the whole of July now, where across social media, people subscribe to us. They send us gifts and whatnot. Patreon, subscribers to us on TikTok, all sorts of stuff. 100% of all of those gifts and subscriptions and whatever will be going to two charities. Charity 1 is Mind for mental health, and charity 2 is Orchid, which is about men's cancer, basically, and highlighting and fighting men's cancer, which as we go through the month, me and Ash will do videos or a little podcast episode maybe just about why those two and how they've affected us. So we're proud to be doing that for those two charities, and at the end of the month we'll total up what we've got and send it to the two charities, which is super cool.
It's going to be a good month.
And by the time this goes out, we'll be a few days away from the Priest Cottage. For anybody who's been listening and following us on social media, the new location in Leeds, so we're super excited about that. Follow us from 8 p.m. UK time on TikTok. Everything's going to be on TikTok live. So
that's Sunday the 6th of July. Sunday the 6th of July.
Is it 6th?
You question my sanity here.
I don't know, because I booked the day off work and I hope I booked the right day off work.
Yeah, Sunday the 6th.
Sunday the 6th, yeah.
Making me doubt myself.
Sorry. Right, so we will crack straight on.
Yes,
so
amazing guest tonight.
We've got amazing guests. I've been looking forward to this all week since we set up the interview. Super excited.
It's a bit different. Something we've not really talked about much.
No. I think the closest we've come to this is, what was his name now? Nathaniel Gillis, where we talked about demonology. And I think that's probably the closest we've touched towards this kind of subject. But we are honoured to be joined tonight by an exorcist priest. She's from the St. Joan of Arc Independent Anglican Church in Florida. Melbourne in Florida, in fact. I've been to Florida. I don't know where Melbourne is in Florida. But Steph, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing real good. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Did I get your job title right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it right. I'm an ordained priest, ordained exorcist. Yeah, you got perfect. Perfect.
Awesome. So we, like me and Ash are saying, we've not had a guest on like you before.
Right.
So, and people have been messaging and whatnot. And I've been thinking about questions, but really, I think the best place to start is how do you get into this? How do you become an exorcist?
I started doing paranormal investigating about 15 years ago, right? Yeah. Most of them were spirit haunts, to be honest. You cross them over, or if they were evil, you kind of kicked them out, basically. Pandemic started, and I had felt the calling, God calling me anyways, for 2 to 3 years, and had been asking Him for a purpose. And the pandemic started instantaneously. All my cases were evil and demonic. It was crazy. So at that point, I started working with a Roman Catholic exorcist priest. I've been working with him for 6.5 years. Um, I started doing a year-long exorcist priest course, and became the ordinator. It's just kind of like a. I got upset too because there's a lot of people that charge exorbitant amounts to come out and help people. Um, one such person charged anywhere from $35 to $4,000, and your normal person cannot and afford that. And I felt that that wasn't fair. That only the elite could afford to get that help. So that was a big driving force for me, you know. So that's pretty much how I got into it. Like I said, I felt it's been God's calling for me ever since.
So,
Definitely.
so you said
So
you go through, and you worked with the Roman Catholic Church and an exorcist priest there. I mean, what kind of training do you have? And do you get, does the church um,
Now I
ask
don't
you to
work with the
help, or do you?
church. I
Okay,
work with the Roman Catholic exorcist priest. I do not work with the church. I
uh,
kind of work alone, basically. I don't have to
freelance,
ask for
nice.
permission. We work alongside. He's retired, and so I'm not sure if he has to get permission or not. I don't believe he does. So I have cases that I feel much better if he come along with, and I just um, get a hold of him, and we meet at a place and get it done, basically get what's there out. The last case, in fact, it was interesting. I have never seen an instant. It was interesting to me, a first time for me. um she had pretty much said, I'll take everything on. In other words, um, give everything to me and leave my family alone. So she was essentially saying, take my soul and leave my family alone. Well, we had to make her denounce that 3 times. The third time, instantaneous possession. Um, I have not looked back on that. I've yet to look at the video that was last month. Interested to see. A lot of times they'll corrupt the video. They'll static all the way through it. They'll make it black. They'll do whatever, but they will corrupt the video. So I'm very interested to see what they did with this one. But yeah,
wow.
we had to exercise her immediately at that point. And
So could you kind of walk us through? So say you've been called to a house where they
right,
believe there's like need an exorcism. Kind of walk us through the process of what you do to actually to work with that
yeah.
family.
Of course, first of all, we'll sit down. We've talked to them. I insist on talking to them on Zoom. If I can't meet them face to face, I need to see their mannerisms, their eyes, the way they're looking. They say that they lie, they look left. So you check up on all that, and you can tell whether someone's lying or not, or if there's a mental illness involved. A lot of times, there's both. They need to have a physical and mental evaluation because this can be dangerous for them. um, so we'll sit down, have a powwow with them, and then we'll start to get going. We'll first exorcise the house first because you want to get rid of whatever demons are there just lurking in the walls, in the bedrooms, in the closets, in wherever in the house. Because if you don't, what can happen is then if you exorcise the person and there's still demons around the house, they're going to jump right back on. So basically it's usually a 2 to 3 day process. First we exercise the house, and then we exercise the person or the people. A lot of times it's more than one person that has an attachment. In this particular case, it was four of them. But you could tell that two instantaneously had it because the moment we went in the front door, they went out the back. And there was no way, unfortunately, we were going to be able to take care of it unless we were able to take care of every single person in there. They were a willing participant. And so we left that, and they're still being harassed, unfortunately. I gave her an ultimatum. I said, you have a choice of basically moving away from those two people. It was a old funeral home house, and the whole family lived in there. They were different apartments, and I said, you have the option of moving away from those two particular family members and having us come back and do it. And pretty much, or have them agree to be exercised. And they weren't going to agree, and she would not agree to move away. So it's up to the people too, unfortunately. You know, if I were me, and this is just me, I knew that my soul was on the line. I think I'd pretty much do anything, you know. But I can understand how she feels about family. I get that.
So you mentioned just a moment ago that you have a Zoom call with them. You'll try and understand if there's like a mental illness, or maybe there is a mental illness alongside everything else. What
Right.
sort of sign or manifestations would convince you that a person is properly possessed and they're not just ill?
Right. They're losing time. You look at their eyes. If their eyes turn totally black, that's a big sign. Instantaneously, 0 to 60 seconds, anger, rage comes out. That's a big sign. One particular teenage boy, just angry. You get angry in the house, and you're fighting all the time. But then you step outside of the house, you go somewhere else, and everything's fine. That's a huge sign. You're losing time. That's a big sign. Things like that. So, and those are very evident for us to see once we get in there too. You know, so we have ways of bringing out the demonic. You have to bring out the demonic in order to exercise it out. And there are numerous ways of bringing it out. I've had cases. I've had actually 4 or 5 different cases where these people. This is out in Texas when I lived in Texas. They didn't know each other from Adam. Different economics, different cities, different everything. They didn't know each other. Well, when we had brought the demon out, and then we got rid of it, and they came back into their senses, so to speak, they all sat up and told us that they were in hell. Now, either Satan or the demons or both were watching them. There was fire in hell, and hell was cold. Every single one of them, which was very interesting to me. I never heard that hell was cold. So that was it. That was a new one for me. You know. Oh, also, if they have super strength, sometimes you'll have to put restraints on them, and they'll even break out of the restraints and break the chair. I had one case where it was a man, and we didn't expect him to really manifest in any way, but he did. I couldn't even hold down his hand, much less anything else. It took 4 of us, including his wife, sitting on him to get him under control. So, yeah, superhuman strength.
So you had cases where it's been like, say, dangerous.
Yeah,
Been in there.
I was on a 2-year-long case, and this was in Texas. I've been there for 2 years. I moved to Texas. I'm in Florida. Um, they didn't like me. That you could tell through the EVPs that they would say, go away, we hate you stuff. They knew who I was, definitely, and I'd never been scratched before. They scratched me 3 times. Well, I was in Florida. I was at the beach. All of a sudden, I'm just sitting there minding my own business. There's these biting flies that come in a swarm around me. And I thought that I'm thinking it just must be the season. People are walking by and I say, are you being bothered by these insects? And everybody said no. I would move over to another place. They would follow me and continue to bite me. I get 3 scratches, bruising under my skin. And then something slammed my head down into the sand 3 times. So, and that's always the key thing. They're mocking the Trinity. So everything they do is 3 times. So that was kind of dangerous.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, so that sounds like something completely out of like a proper horror film. So
Yeah.
that really does. Have you ever encountered any other cases where it's just completely defied explanation and you're just like, what?
I'm trying to think if there's been the elemental. That's not. I don't know whether they're demonic or not. Father says they are demonic. He was a dwarf, and I think that there's a good chance. I think what happened was they built the house directly on his house, and he was just one pissed off little dude. He basically they go to sleep, and I would film them when they were sleeping. I would see 2 orbs come to them, and they were sound asleep, and they instantly start thrashing about. I had left the house at 2 a.m. in the morning, and my battery was totally dead. So I called AAA. That was kind of weird to begin with, but I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and my friend's like waiting for me, and the headlights start going off. The horn is honking. The whole electric panel is blinking on and off. The radio is going on and off. And there's no way of turning it off because I didn't turn it on. I think he was just his way of telling me, I want you to come back here. Basically, I've had my car, they attacked my car. They know I like my car is like my baby. It's like a pink and blue convertible. And
Oh, wow.
I've had in 1 year, I had 5 double blowouts going to cases.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're like
And
trying to stop you from coming.
exactly, exactly. I feel Saint Archangel Michael's kind of like my protector, I feel. Um, and that's how I feel that ended up being safe. There was one instance where my bumper was about ready to fall off. I had to drive an hour and a half. Um, it lasted until I drove up in my driveway for an hour and a half, and then it fell off
Oh, wow.
right then and there. So I
So
don't know.
when you're called by someone and they approach you and reach out to you and say that they need help,
Yeah,
do you get any kind of indication before you've even met them, before you've been on Zoom? Does anything happen around you that you can sort of sense that this is a real case or this is genuine?
yeah. There's been a couple times where I've gotten violently ill.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
And
and
is this sort of can you directly sort of put that towards this sort of
definitely,
thing? Yeah.
definitely, without a doubt. I mean, one time I was doing which nobody ever do. Please, I
Mm.
was in the beginning of learning, and the person that was training me said, "Oh, go ahead and do it." I instantly fell to my knees. I was sick for 5 days on the couch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why I
Wow.
said, "Don't ever pull a Zach Bagans."
He's not got a very good name over here. Um,
Yeah, it's good.
so, so, so what? So somebody reaches out to you. You have a conversation. What typically happens from there? Because
Yeah,
in the UK we don't really have exorcists or exorcism, not that I'm aware of. And
right, right,
we've got a large circle of paranormal friends, both me and Ash. We've got friends who do weird stuff all over the place. But
right.
the US, it seems to be a thing over there.
It
What
is.
happens? Because I wouldn't have a clue what
I
happens after
just,
that initial call.
I am intuitive, so I will get a feeling right off the bat. And my feelings are generally, I'll get a headache, I'll get cobwebs feeling on my face when I'm talking to them on the phone. Yeah, there's a questionnaire I make everybody fill out. You can get a lot from a questionnaire, definitely. And
What sort of
what,
questions do you ask in the questionnaire then?
um, well, number one, do you have any mental illness? What type of medication do you take? Do you lose time? Um, are you, does your partner say you rage out? Do you get very angry? Things like that. There's about 30 or 40 questions that I ask.
I'm ticking some of those boxes already.
Yeah. Yeah, things that, yeah, did he get physically attacked? And, I try not to lead them on, but if you hear knocking, well, how many knocks are you hearing? If they're getting scratched, well, how many scratches are you getting? That'll lead me into, and there's a lot like of course, I'm not going to divulge names or anything, but this last case was, I could feel that it was definitely more of a mental illness than a real possession when it escalates and they go on to more kind of a fantasy type thing, like they're the only one being attacked and it's coming out of revelations and this and that, then you kind of get the feeling that, well, definitely mental clearance before anything else.
Do
So
you, at that point, when you sort of realise that potentially it's something more of a mental illness rather than a possession, what, how do you sort of structure those conversations? Because I can imagine that that's quite a difficult
right.
thing for maybe the person might not get it, but their family might.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you approach that?
um you know what usually happens, I'll be totally honest, I'll ask for the mental clearance.
Mhm.
If they don't give it, then I have my answer.
Okay, that's fair.
A lot
Yeah,
of times, if it is mental illness, they won't give it.
yeah, that's fair.
You
That makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my biggest clue.
So
Um,
are there, so you say you don't get the mental clearance, so obviously there is some kind of mental issue there. But
right.
if you do and everything's all good, I say
Yeah.
good, obviously it's not good at that point, but there's no mental issue or anything that leads it to be an illness of their mind rather than anything else. What are there, like, different levels of sort of influence or demonic influence, sort of like oppression,
Definitely.
infestation, possession? What kind of things do you see, and do you like have a level that you put people at?
There's definitely levels. There's oppression where they feel like they can't. For instance, they can't leave the house. They're being drawn back to that house. They are getting angry. That's more of an oppression type. And and these demons will bide their time. I mean, they could take years to build up to that. And while they're doing that, they're also, like we have our armies, they have their armies. So they have their frontline guys, they have their generals, their sergeants, their infantry, everything. I mean, so if there's one, I usually say there's hundreds. You usually prepare yourself for hundreds. When it goes into possession, some of these people can actually feel. them jump into themselves. When they lose, it goes from oppression to possession. And when they lose time and their eyes get black, they notice that their family members are noticing their eyes are getting black, or they're. I had one client that her husband would just start choking her for no reason at all. Yeah, and then that's a possession, and that's a bad. There are levels of possession too. I mean, they take, like I say, they take their time and they buy it and they build up gradually. It's not like a total instantaneous. I don't believe, not that I've seen, except for that one instance, last case. But yeah, generally, like I say, they build up in progression until a full possession. And if there's something in thought that was saying called a perfect possession, where the person kind of agrees to be possessed, and this demonic is possessing him. So it's to that point is very hard, if not impossible, to get reconciliation with that. It may take one exorcism for some of these people. It may take 20. You never know, depending on the situation.
So how
So
do what we call real possessions and exorcisms? How does that compare to kind of what we see in Hollywood with like TVs and the films and stuff?
there's no
How much is
comparison. I've never seen anybody throw up. Well, I have seen people throw up green. I'm sorry, I have seen that. That's how they get rid of the demonic, is they throw up, and they're throwing up the demonic presence. Um, but yeah, their heads don't spin around. I've heard that they can levitate. I personally have never seen that. Um, I do believe anything's possible. I've been shoved before. Um, it depends on the entity and how bad they want to hurt the person. They can hurt them physically. They can even kill them physically. So, um, but yeah, it's very, very, very exaggerated in the movies.
So
Definitely.
what tools do you use then during the exorcism, like holy water, crosses? What?
Holy water,
Because I
crosses.
like I said in like the Hollywood films, you see them like throwing holy
Yeah,
water
and it
everywhere, and
burns them. It does
okay,
actually burn the person. I use holy anointed oil. Father has taught me that you play the chants from the church. You blare them constantly, and that's what I tell my clients to do. I don't use sage because, quite frankly, it does piss them off sometimes. The demons, the demonic. So I use frankincense and myrrh because they're the holiest herbs. They're the ones that were brought to the baby Jesus by the wise men, and Palo Santo. Those are the ones that I use. And you see, you want to smoke. I mean, you want to. I call it. You want to be able to swim through the smoke. Does that make sense? It's so thick that you're swimming through it, and you're getting all the drawers, all the closets, everything. Like I say, you're putting crosses above the doors, the windows, everything, the fireplaces with holy anointed oil. Um, I don't generally do this all. Sometimes I will, because if you're not totally 100% convinced that they're gone, then you're sealing it back in with them. So that's something I try to avoid. Um, to protect the property line, you'll bury Immaculate Mary medals and Saint Benedict's medals, because Saint Benedict is the patron saint of exorcisms. So blessed medals are very, very strong. Creates a very strong perimeter that they can't um, go through, basically.
it's interesting. I just wanted to pick up on something that you mentioned. You mentioned that while being possessed, they can't kill the person that they're possessing. What's the point of the possession then? What do the demons get from
They want
taking
their
over
soul.
someone's body? They just want their soul.
Ultimately, they want their
Hmm.
soul. That's what they want. And they have been known to, a lot of times there's been a lot of spirits in there that need to be crossed over because they will fool these spirits and say, come on. I mean, these spirits stay behind because they miss the light. They're scared to go into it. They're scared of judgment. They're angry about something. They're attached to something. For whatever reason, they don't cross over. So they're lost, essentially, in the fourth dimension. And the demons will present themselves as anything, as angels, um, and say, "Come on, we're going to get you into heaven," and they will follow them, and then they are trapped with them. Um, Another technique they use to people, and they'll use this on children. They present themselves as a child, and they'll ask the children, "Can I come in? Can I stay here?" And if the child says yes, then they've been let in. People, they do that to adults too. People feel sorry for them and um, let them in, basically. And then they're stuck. Then they've got a whole nother problem. So that's two of the ways that I know that they can get in. And other ways are, now, I don't know. What do you all think of the Ouija board?
I'll
You
use
guys
it.
cool with it, or?
No problem. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. See, I'm kind of like myself. Um, I've seen a lot of cases where they let something in through the Ouija board because it depends. If you know what you're doing, that's a horse of a different color. But these people do not know what they're doing, and they also do not realize that what they've let in, they can close that door, but it's not necessarily going back. So if they've let in something demonic or evil, it's going to stay with them. Um, and they do religious provocation. They don't use it as a tool like it should be. They use it as a means of, they don't realize that, it's not Aunt Gertrude they're talking to. It's a lower level spirit, basically. And they have to protect. That's a lot of people don't realize. I'm a big protection girl.
So yeah, I've done a Ouija board loads of times, and
Yeah,
nothing's really happened for me. So
that's
I'm
good.
still waiting for that thing
Right.
to happen. But
Right. Well, you guys use it as a tool. And
yeah,
these
we
people
give it.
use it more as a game,
Yeah,
you know.
we try. We've been where Ash lives. It's got a basement in known as Ash's basement. Um,
Yeah.
across social media now, and, but we've tried a Ouija board in there. Nothing's really happened. That's
Right.
probably we've had activity, stones thrown, Ash has been touched, pushed, all these kind of things,
Right.
growls, whispers, weird noises, but the Ouija board has never moved for me. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
I
It's
hear you. Now the growls are what get me. The growls are just and I don't know why I'm pretty much fearless. Nothing scares me except the growls. I'll hear a growl and I'll just want to jump in your lap. It just sets me off. But I don't know. You're talking about other things with demonic. I've had possessed people. There again, they've touched my car, and that's all it took. The whole drive home, the radio goes spinning the whole time, um, and it's just they know for some reason to if they're going to bug me, they're going to bug me by attacking the car. So then it's time to smudge it and do whatever I need to do to get it right again. So,
So, well, okay. Well, have you ever been to a location and been to a case where you've done the exorcism, you've cleared the person, but you've just not been able to sort of clear the energy of the location, or does it not work like that? Is it they have to you have to do both, or
you have to do both. You first have to do the location first, and then you have to do the person. I found it's got to be done that way to make it happen. Um, the only way it's really failed is if the clients are not totally on board. Like they say they'll do anything, but they won't. My last client, I said, hey, I mean, I lost like $4,000 on the client before, and I can't afford that to keep doing that. So I said, we need help with travel funds. And why not? I said, you try a GoFund. And her comment was, I can't do it. You do it for me. I have too much anxiety. And I thought, no, you got to work. You've got to show me something that you're willing to work towards something. Otherwise, it's not worth either one of our times because we're not going to get rid of it. You've got to do the ultimate. You've got to be 100% on board. And by showing me that, she's showing me she wasn't 100% on board. So that's a lot of the way I weed out clients too. They've got to be willing to work towards it, to work towards a resolution for themselves more than anybody.
Have you
So I
had
mean, there's
many?
lots of work. What's that?
I was just going to say, you had many cases involving like young people or kids. Is that something that you would also do?
Kids are always emergencies for me. Always. I will be there in a day or two if there's a child involved, without a doubt, because that worries me. It scares me because they're vulnerable. I mean, when I did paranormal investigations, and I still do, no kids are allowed in the house because it's just they're the weakest ones. They're the ones that are going to be picked on. Anybody under 18, um, anybody under 21, I usually will not take on a team because they're still growing. They've got the puberty hormones and all that, so they're very susceptible as well to being. So yeah, kids are just an emergency for me, without a doubt. So, and you got to be careful. They got to be baptized. It's one thing as a protection for them. If they're not baptized, we baptize them. There was one case where there was a girl who was by a shadow demon being attacked, and she was possessed, and she had the strength of I couldn't even tell you how much strength she had, but we exercised her, and then we looked over at her brother, which was scary because he was probably going to be the weakest one and the one that the demonic was going to jump over to. But the poor child was catatonic, absolutely catatonic after seeing what his sister went through. He probably, in retrospect, shouldn't have even been there. But there was nothing we could do for him because at the point that he was at, he would have ended up in a mental institution. He was just so traumatized. And I don't know, it was sad. I lost track of what happened with him, but it was scary.
so what do you think, or what do you believe these demons are? Are they like fallen angels, some kind of spiritual energy, or something else? You mentioned like an army, but
Yeah.
what are these demons?
I believe they're fallen angels, honestly.
Mm,
They are fallen angels. I also believe that some of them are people that were evil. Like, say, if you're evil or nasty or whatever, when you die, your personality is going to carry over the same way. Now, you have a choice, you've got free will. In my opinion, you can achieve to get better, or some choose to achieve to get worse. And I believe that some of those people can turn into demons. That's my opinion. Whether or not it's true or not, I don't know.
we spoke to a demonologist, and he referenced aliens as some of the fallen angels. What
Yep.
would your take on that be? Is that something that you could go with, or?
Definitely. I agree with that. I believe there are demonic aliens out there, without
Mhm.
a doubt. I've had cases where I could have sworn they were aliens. Um, they are harder to get rid of. They're nastier. But yeah, I firmly believe in demonic aliens. I mean, my theory is where there's good, there's bad to counterbalance everything. So even with aliens, if you've got good ones, you've definitely got bad ones. And unfortunately, yeah, they're demonic and they come over here. And they're the ones I think that have a lot to do with the abductions, in my opinion. So I don't know, but I agree with it. I agree. Definitely
On that
agree.
on that kind of note, how does, obviously with religion and stuff, how does that kind of um what's the word I'm looking for? Like, how does religion kind of, I guess, see kind of things like aliens and stuff, being different species, being obviously not
Oh,
man.
yeah. How does
What's
that
that
fit
sort of?
into the relation with God and
Yeah, yeah.
um? I personally believe that God created the aliens. He creates everything, and like I say, we all have our free will. So some of them are fallen angels, some of them are not. But yeah, I believe some of them turn away from God, some of them turn towards God. There is, in my opinion, of course, there's just one um, superpower, so to speak, and one bad superpower. So um, I don't know.
Has your faith ever been tested during
Oh,
these exorcisms?
not during the exorcisms, but yeah, it's been tested. Um,
Okay.
I've felt like Job. I've been, oh my God, I'm a 7-year cancer survivor.
Hmm.
Um, I've,
Congratulations.
thank you. I've,
That's good.
there's just a mirage of illnesses and trauma and everything that's happened throughout my life. Um, so, no, I lost my train of thought. um, so my faith was tested. In fact, when after I got cancer, I was angry at God. I was so angry. And it took me about 3 or 4 years to come back and to have a personal relationship with him. Um,
Yeah,
which
I get
thank
that.
goodness I did. I'm not a big believer of organized religion, personally. I consider myself more spiritual. So I, the beach, that's my church. I feel God there. Things like that. I walk around all the time talking to him like he's, my friend or a person I'm just talking to. Just people think I'm crazy, like I'm talking to myself. Which, so, yeah, it's been tested. Not, not necessarily. I think that's what made me turn towards the exorcisms, quite frankly.
So, do you believe that a possession can happen to anyone, or is
Yes.
there sort of specific sort of risk factors like upbringing, location, those kind of things, or can anyone?
Yeah. Anybody. anybody. I believe that we have a hedge of protection. Everybody has a hedge of protection around us. Um, w- what we do, like we do, let's say we become an alcoholic, there's holes in that hedge that encourages, that just makes it easier for the demonic to come in too. But it hits everybody. It hits the religious, the spiritual. It has no boundaries, absolutely no boundaries whatsoever. Unfortunately,
How how many exorcisms have you done? If you could put a number on it,
I
I
think
can
probably got
yeah.
25 so far. So
Wow.
over the years, with myself and with father and things like that, going on 25 to 30, somewhere around there. So
Do you think that there's been a rise in cases of possession over the
oh
sort of years? I know we talked about COVID and all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
but do you think social media, like pop culture, films, um, has
everything
driven
like
a bit of
that.
a rise? Yeah.
Everything like that. I believe also that God gave free reign to Satan at this point to do with what he would do with the world. My father says he believes that we're not the beginning of the end. End times, we're not the end, but we're kind of smack in the middle. And so I believe portals are open. More portals have been opened um, by people messing around a lot, especially during, and I say this again, during COVID. People had nothing to do. So they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. And with everything like that, portals are being opened, demonic portals are being opened. Besides the fact that they're just becoming more active on Earth because of the times, I think. So, and I
It's
see it in the
pretty crazy
people.
times at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty.
I well, how do I put this? I call people entitled now. They just out here in the. I don't know how it is out there, but out here, oh my god! Especially on the roads, gotta be
Oh
first.
yeah, same here, definitely.
And with my Mustang, it's like I don't dare turn on a blinker. That's just insanity. There, I will never get over. And so,
Um,
yeah, I definitely think it's
do you
just
think
rampant
though
right now.
that do you think that there's more of an acceptance of or an openness to people's spirituality and an acceptance over demonic possession? I mean, that's not very mainstream, but do you believe that there is more of an openness to accept religion and the good and bad now, or
Um,
do you think there's always been like that and people are just hear about it more?
honestly, I believe the opposite. I
Okay.
believe people are turning away from God right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can quite believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I think that is one part of why things are becoming so much more active.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah.
because they believe in themselves more than they believe in God. I think let's do what we can. What life is short. Let's do whatever we want, and then we'll face the music. And what I tell people is, hey, if I'm wrong, no harm, no foul. I said, but if you're wrong, I don't know. They don't like that, but that's always what I tell people. So think about, as I say, think about that. I don't know.
It's like because like the
It's
UK is not religious at all
no,
as a country
it isn't.
anymore. And I guess we see like there's a lot more division nowadays, and a lot more, like say, a lot of people out for themselves and stuff like that. I think that
Right.
religion probably a lot more community feel, a lot more. Whether it's more about God or whether more about the community, I think we have lost that as the country.
I
Probably seen the
agree.
same in the States as well.
People are just, and I'm an open book and I say what I say, and they can disagree or agree. But I find organized religion to be cliquish and judgmental a lot. Last time I was at a church, it was at a Catholic church, and where you do "peace be with you" type of thing. Two ladies were behind me talking about how disgusting my tats were, and I thought, "Are you serious?" I think that was the last time I set foot in an organized religion. I thought, if that's the way people are going to be, that's up to them. But
I think religion can give people a lot of peace. I believe that,
yes,
and a
absolutely.
direction, but it also creates a lot of division. I know in the UK we get a lot of division from different faiths,
Yes,
not necessarily like a hatred, but because the beliefs can be quite indoctrinated and people are quite closed to the openness of religion. I think
right,
that's the right way of saying it. That they believe their path of religion and no other path is right. And it
right.
causes a lot of divisions in the UK. So I think sometimes that's used to fuel wars and whatnot.
I
But
agree.
I do believe what you say, that people turning their back on religion. The UK is a classic one. Not that I ever used to go to church, but I'm a
Right.
Christian. Um, I was christened in when I was little, but now nobody really goes to church. We don't really teach it in school because we don't want to offend other religions.
Yeah,
That
you don't
tends to
say
be
the
a thing
word
in the UK.
Christmas or anything like that.
Exactly, in the UK, it's become like politically, it's been quite divisive, and the politics gets involved, and I think that probably stirs a lot of emotional hatred across religions. So I do think that um, I don't know the point I'm trying to make here is, but there
Right.
there is division which causes this good and bad, and I think that probably
Right.
plays into the hands of whatever is out there, spirits, fallen angels, aliens, whatever they may be.
Absolutely. I
um,
agree. 100%.
we get a lot. We do have quite a few poltergeist cases in the UK, not not widely known
Yeah.
ones sort of now, but we've had very high profile cases, and that definitely feeds on people's emotions. And I think that's the kind of thing what the demons or whatever they are. But
Oh, yeah. They did latch on to that.
the more me and Ash look into this, the less I seem to know about anything. I really do. And we started this up in COVID. We didn't go out playing with Ouija boards. We started the
Yeah.
podcast, but
Right.
I
I
do
did.
think that there is an emotional attachment that these
Right.
entities can have. But it's just
I
interesting that
agree.
there seems to be a lot in the US and none in the UK, and I can't get my I don't know
Yeah.
why that is. I know you
Texas
guys.
is a huge hotspot. I mean,
It's quite a religious state, isn't it?
yeah, very much so. I had 3 cases a week um, in Texas until I moved. Came out to Florida. It's like it's dead out here until I started doing exorcisms. Um, but
Everybody's chilled out in Florida.
what's that? Yeah, really.
Everybody's chilled out. Every time I've been there,
Yeah,
everybody's super chilled in Florida.
everyone's chill,
Everyone's at the
crazy
beach.
chill. Yeah, there you go. Well, I tell people, and again, this is just my opinion, but the Bible is good. It has a lot of great things in there. Studying the Bible, sure, everything. But in reality, the only thing that's going to get you into heaven is to believe and profess it, believe in your heart, profess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior.
I'm fucked
And
then.
that's it. You're not.
Although I've still got a few years left, hopefully. So maybe.
No, you're
maybe.
fine. You're fine. No, that's what I try and tell people. You can't pick and choose out of the Bible because it's like all these different religions. They have their different interpretations, and it's so simple to me. But then I'm a simple person.
You don't sound it.
I am.
If you ever had much, say, like negativity, sort of like naysayer type people that sort of
Yeah.
against doing this type of work.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, what kind of traction do they get? Do they publicly try and to sort of create this negativity towards you, or do they tell you directly? What kind of negativity do you get?
I find I either have, and I'm always very, what's the word, hesitant to tell people what I do because I'll get some people that will literally turn their back and walk away really fast. Like, I'm going to affect them. And I get the other two that, oh my gosh, that's so cool type of thing. So it's actually about half and half.
Okay.
So, which is good. They have free will. If they don't like, and I understand it scares people. It scares priests, believe it or not.
I imagine it does. I imagine
Yeah,
it does because it's a full-on test of faith, regardless of how you look at
absolutely.
it. Is if you believe in this one all powerful being, but then you've
Yeah,
got these people, these entities trying to essentially just pull the rug out and do the complete opposite of what the God or the power all powerful being is. I can imagine that is a massive test of faith.
it
So
is
what?
massive.
So if somebody is believes that they're starting to experience some kind of spiritual possession, what should they do? How do they approach someone like you? Um,
You know
how
what?
do they?
I'm out there on the web. I have my personal phone number out there. They just tell them to key in Hostly Warriors, and they'll find me. They'll find my email address, my personal phone number. As long as you don't call after 10, that's cool. But I'm there. There's Order of the Exorcists, which I belong to, run by Ron um, Enright and Archbishop or Bishop Ron Enright, and they can contact them too as well.
Awesome.
So
So
just do.
where can people find you on? Can they find you on social media? Are these groups on social media,
Yep.
or is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're on social media. Order of the Exorcist definitely are on.
Cool.
Ron Farrell Enright. He's on. You can just type his name in. You can type my name in, Stephanie Brady. Google
Cool.
Paranormal Angels, Stephanie. It's Steph Brady. And you'll be able to get that. That's it. That may be a little bit easier to remember. It'll point you to
No,
Hostly
that's cool.
Warrior.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Oh gosh,
tonight.
you're
I
so
know.
welcome. I really enjoyed
I think.
this, guys.
That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
definitely. Yeah, and like we said right at the start, it's not a subject that we've really touched that closely. So it's been really cool to sort of put some of the myths of the Hollywood stuff, but also get some
Right.
actual stuff out there.
Yeah,
So
it's
I think it's something that our
awesome to
listeners
chat.
really enjoy. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'll get the links from you for all the bits, and we can put that on the
Okay,
show notes as well. And
that's
yeah, thank
great.
you so much. It's been really good to meet you.
No, thank you. And send me your link.
Will do. Cheers.
Okay, please.